yourself different from those in the time of Imam Hussein who were his killers, from those in the time of Imam Hassan who were his killers, from those in the time of Rasulullah who caused him pain. As you know the famous hadith which says, Man mata walam ya'rif imam zamanihi mata maytatan jahiliya. It does not say, Man mata walam ya'lim, he who does not know the Imam of the time. No, he who does not have ma'rifah of the Imam of his time. He has died the death of jahiliya. Why not kufr? Why not he who does not know the Imam of his time has died the death of an unbeliever? Because when you are a jahil, you are worse than an unbeliever. When you don't have belief, there's a hope that one day you will have belief. But when you are jahil, like we mentioned, 2 + 2 is 4. You can say 2 + 2 is 5. There's no hope at all. You've removed that hope, which is why it's even worse than being on the wrong path. Interestingly, in a famous conference in the 1950s in Cairo in Egypt, there were many brothers from the other sect, from the other dominions of Islam, and they called one of the alims from Najm, from our holy city, and they said, "Come, O Sheikh, come and have a dinner with us, come have this big feast." The Sheikh said, "I'll come on one condition. When I come, there'll be no sectarianism. When I come, there'll be no debates, no polemics. We just come, we'll get together, brothers of the faith, and we'll enjoy our time together." They said, "We promise you, there'll be no debates." You can guess what happened. The Sheikh went, sat down. As he began to eat, they said, "Sheikh, we have a question for you. Shaykhana, we want to ask you this. Who was the correct Khalif after Rasulullah? Who was the correct leader after the Holy Prophet?" The Shaykh said, "Before I answer your question, I also have a question." They said, "What is it?" He said, "Can you verify for me a hadith where the Holy Prophet said, 'He who does not know the Imam of his time dies the death of Jahiliyyah'?" He waited. Every single person in the room said, "This is Sahih. This hadith is correct. The Prophet said this." The Shaykh replied, "Who was the Imam in the time of Lady Fatima?" He looked around to the whole room, the only Shia Ithna Ashari scholar there. One by one, they all got up and left. The Shaykh said, "I told you, I don't want to come here to debate. But it shows you how important it is to know the Imam of your time." No one had the courage to say, even today, back then, until Judgment Day, no one has the courage to say, Lady Fatima did not know the Imam of her time. And so we find therefore that the Imam of your time, if you know him truly, that's what can set you apart from the people of Jahil, the people who have no knowledge. And so as we finish off, we mentioned just some examples from the life of Imam Hassan, which show us how he demonstrated for us to gain knowledge. Before we come to that, there's a funny example I was looking at today, where there are 2 scholars together, one professor, one his student. He says to his student, "There's a long flight ahead. There's no phones, no gadgets. Let's debate each other. But there's a condition. Oh, my student, if I ask you a question and you can't answer me, you have to give me $5. That's your kafara. That's your penalty." The student says, "But what if I ask you a question and you can't answer it?" The professor said, "My izzat is on the line now." He said, "I'll give you $500. If you can ask me a question and I can't answer you, I'll give you $500. He said, "Khair, Bismillah, begin." The professor said, "Tell me, what's the distance between the earth and the moon?" Now the student is thinking, he never taught me this. What do I do? He said, "Professor, I don't know this." He said, "Give me $5. He gave him the $5. He told him the correct answer. He said, "Professor, I have a question now." "Yes, go for it." He said, "Tell me, what creature is that which when it walks up the hill, it walks on 3 legs. When it comes back down, it has 4 legs. He said, "Ajib, what kind of beast or what kind of jinn is this? It walks up the hill 3 legs, comes back 4. The professor is thinking, he's calculating. He says, "I don't know." So the student said, "Now, $500 first." He gave him the $500. The professor said, though, your question really bugged me. It really annoyed me. Before I ask you something else, tell me the answer. What animal is it, or what creature, when it walks up the hill? 3 legs, comes back 4. The student took out $5, gave it to the professor. He said, I don't know either. I just asked you the question. You see, there's some forms of ignorance you can work around, like this student. But again, it gives you the importance. This, of course, this is not a real example. It's a story made up. But it reinforces the fact of what? Knowing your surroundings. Knowing where you've come from. Knowing who you're speaking to. And inshallah, we can apply this to the Imam of our time. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.